Hello, my name is Byron Hardin. I'm president of Hardin Associates Consulting. Today we're going to be addressing the requirements for conducting a customer service inspection per Texas Commission on Environmental Quality Rules and Regulations. Later in this video we're going to actually go on site and conduct a live inspection so that you can see what's actually involved while conducting a residential inspection, which is what we're going to focus on in this video for today. But before that, I wanted to show what's actually needed by an inspector to conduct the inspection. As you see on the table in front of me, there's lots of different tools and equipment and lead swabs and things that you're going to need in order to complete that inspection. What I do want to do is take a moment to explain the rules and regulations. We're going to cover who's allowed to do the inspection, when the inspection must occur, and what you're actually looking for. Those are three critical components that we tend to receive numerous questions from individuals across the state. First, who's actually allowed to conduct a customer service inspection? Well, there's three categories. Actual customer service inspector that's licensed by TCQ that have taken the approved 10-hour customer service course and has successfully passed the exam. Those are eligible individuals that are eligible to take the exam. The second category are licensed plumbing inspectors that license is issued by the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners. They can do the inspection by right under their plumbing inspection license, but they can only inspect in the local jurisdictions in which they are employed. Key important point there. Third category are licensed plumbers who hold the WSPS endorsement. That stands for the Water Supply Protection Specialist endorsement. And then they're not allowed to inspect their own work, obviously. So those are the individuals that can conduct the CSI inspection. So the next step is, well, what is it you're actually looking for when conducting the CSI inspection? Very simple. There's only two items that are looked at. One is identifying actual cross-connection or potential for cross-connections, and two, checking for lead exceedance at the particular location on the plumbing materials being utilized at that location. So those are the two things, only two things that you are to identify when conducting the customer service inspection. We'll go over that more in detail during the on-site inspection. The slide that you're viewing right now is the current requirements for the lead inspection for this customer service inspection. As you can see, there's two definitive dates for lead content on solder as well as pipe materials. The last item I want to talk to you about is, when is the customer service inspection required? That's a question we get all the time. And simply, and again, these are all found in the TCQ rules and regulations under Chapter 290. All new construction, before a permanent water meter can be established, all new construction must have a completed customer service inspection conducted and the original turned in to the water purveyor, with a copy left with the property owner and a copy retained by the tester. These forms can be downloaded from the TCQ website. They have printable, fillable forms online, or you can print it and fill out a hard copy. Anytime there's been any remodeling activity that's affected the plumbing conveyance system would also require a plumbing inspection or customer service inspection. How that happens is that typically when somebody would come in and apply for a plumbing permit, that would be enough to trigger that, hey, you might want to go ahead and conduct another CSI inspection at that location because there's been plumbing alterations taking place. The third time, when the water purveyor believes that unacceptable plumbing practices may be occurring at that location. As an example, let's say you have your water conservation measures in effect. Let's say a staff person is driving down the block, there shouldn't be any watering taking place, and then they see a resident that's watering. They pull up, stop, and on the way up to the front door, they happen to notice there's a private water well sign in use. Well, that right there would be enough justification to trigger a customer service inspection to verify and validate that a private water well is not being interconnected to the potable water supply system to the irrigation. So those are the three circumstances when a customer service inspection must be completed. And again, you're looking for cross connections, potential cross connections, and or lead exceedance on the internal plumbing conveyance materials being used on the potable system. So, having said that, I want to briefly review with you. On the table here, we have lots of information. You have your meter keys, which is vital. Flashlights, you need a good sound quality flashlight so that you can clearly see. Laser pointer, vital to make sure that you can actually put the laser pointer on a pipe and run it, especially on commercial properties. This little tool right here, everybody knows what this is. Everybody refers to as a selfie stick. This is very important. This is a great tool to help you identify. You never have to go into another vault lid. This handle will extend out as long as you need it to. Put your camera on timer, lower it down to capture information on the make and model and size of the assembly you're trying to identify. Or if you're behind a crawl space or up in an attic, you want to be able to take it, same thing, be able to help you with your inspection. Great tool. Next we have is a chalk dry erase board rather for making notes. This is great to be able to put in the foreground if you're taking pictures, help document where you are, date, time, location, what you're running into. On this side here we have more of the practical hard hats. You want to make sure that you practice all of your PPE, personal protective equipment. Make sure you're utilizing that. Safety vest, hard hat, gloves, goggles, and now with the COVID-19, certainly want to make sure you have your proper mask, rubber gloves, even booties might be required, shoe coverings for that. We do have a hand pump for pumping out water. That might be in the meter can, is where you're going to start the inspection, as well as a shovel to be able to dig down if need be to identify what the service line is made out of. And yes, of course, you might need a ladder to be able to get to those hard to reach places. Lastly, you're going to need your lead swabs. 3M makes a lead swab product. This is an indicator test. You have an evidence bag that you will use in case you do get a positive. If you get a positive, it's going to show a bright red color that indicates that lead is present. Again, it's not going to tell you the over amount. It's just going to tell you that where you've taken that test, you've got a lead positive, that there's lead present. So these are all things that are vital for you in order to conduct your customer service inspection. The rest of this video is going to walk you through how the inspection actually takes place. And we're going to shift to that now so that you can be introduced to James Rogers, our Senior Water Quality Inspector, and he's going to show you how to conduct that inspection.
I'm James Rogers. I do CSI inspections for Hardin and Associates, and I'm going to do a quick walkthrough to do a CSI inspection. One of the first things I want to do is locate the meter. Water meter, I get the meter number and the size of the meter and the type, size of the service line. It's going to either be copper or PEX, something in that order. What I've found here is it's a white PEX piping. It looks like it's about a 3/4 inch size, and I don't see a check valve on there, so it tells me that it may not be a closed system inside, so there may not be an expansion tank on the heater or on the, so I'll have to find out if there's a heater on there. All right, the second thing I'm going to do, I know that this has an irrigation system on it, so I'm going to locate the backflow assembly on there, make sure it's a double check, and I'll get the serial number and make and model for my report. I'll be filling out a TCEQ CSI report. If they had a OSSF system on here, then it would go up a hazard or a degree, and it would be considered a high hazard, and it would require an RP. But it doesn't, so I'm going to go ahead and document this backflow assembly here. The third thing I'm going to do is up here at the front of the house, they're going to have a isolation valve, not only here in the front of the house, but we'll also come across possibly one in the garage wall panel. But I'm going to verify the pipe sizing again and the make of the pipe, and make sure that that control valve or the ball valve is a lead-free. The ball valve going into the house isolation valve, it's a PEX piping with a 1-inch ball valve, and it's got the UPC sticker on it, and it's also got a tag saying lead-free. So I don't have to check it for lead. I'll go off of that tag and the UPC sticker. One of the things that I'm going to be looking for is on the outside faucets, it's labeled lead-free, and it's also got a hose bib vacuum breaker on it. So if it didn't have a vacuum breaker on it, I would get a hold of the builder and have them to install one, or I would fill it. This is the second water faucet outside. On the other one I didn't see a tag, but I know it says lead-free here, but this one does have a tag on it that actually says lead-free, and it's got the hose bib vacuum breaker on it. Also, you want to check to make sure that there's no wells, OSSF facilities, any other ponds, any other water sources. This is just a residential in a rural area, but They don't have anything like that. All right, everything outside looks good. What we're going to do is we're going to move inside. I have my booties and I have my mask, so we're going to move inside. One of the things that I'm going to look for, this is just the guest bathroom. I'm going to look underneath the sink. It's just general plumbing. I'm looking to see if there's anything out of the ordinary. Of course, it's going to have quarter turn valves. And then I'm going to look at the faucets, make the fixtures just to make sure they're lead free. I'll also look in the water closet to make sure it has an air gap on the fill and the overflow tube. Let's do that. This is your fill valve. You want to make sure that this overflow tube is at least 1 inch below that, because this is where, and make sure that this little tube is down in that overflow, just to make sure that it's not just hanging down there. And if that overflow tube was above this, then the water would have to rise that high to go into that overflow tube. And this is the laundry room, and what I'm looking for here is on these faucets, I just want to make sure that, again, they're lead free. These are not required to have hose bib vacuum breakers if you're connecting it to your washer and dryer equipment. But if you're not, then of course, if you were just to connect a water hose to it, it would require to have a hose bib vacuum breaker on it. Okay, we're in the master bathroom. And again, I'm going to look at the fixtures and the general plumbing underneath. Make sure that there's not any sweat joints and so forth like that. Just general plumbing. I'll look at the shower handheld hose if there is one. If there's not, we're good. Again, I'm going to look at the water closet. Again, in the master bathroom, these are mowing. This has actually got the handles missing, but as long as everything's connected and I know what type of fixture that is, lead free, I'm okay with that. But what I'm looking for is anything that might look like it's got lead in it. I'll literally test it, check it. And if there's not a fixture here, I'll get with the builder and I may even fell it or give them an opportunity to come and put it in. So, we're here in the kitchen, and I'm going to be looking at the dishwasher air gap. I do see it that the Mullen fixtures are lead free, and if you don't find an air gap on these dishwashers, the IPC will accept a high loop on that drain line. That's acceptable in the plumbing code. This is not a plumbing inspection, this is a CSI, customer service inspection. All right, this water connection here is for your ice machine water dispenser on your refrigerator. You do want to make sure that that's lead free. All right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to check for lead at the water heater expansion tank at the sweat joint. Now, this is just an indication or indicator. It doesn't tell me how much lead, it just says the presence of lead. So what I'm going to do is I've already cleaned the sweat joint and I'm just going to check it real quick. All right. I'm not sure if you got to see that, but what you want to do, there's a dry chemical, a wet chemical, and what you do is you just squeeze this tube and the liquid will come out, but I turned mine, and so you don't just have one side of it getting the chemical on it. And then if it comes out a yellowish color, it shows no presence of lead. It could be purple, it could be, would show a presence of tin. But red is what we're looking for, would show the presence of lead. So I don't show any here, so I'm going to go ahead and put that insulation back and I'll show that to be good. All right, what I'm looking at here is this is an isolation valve and a pressure reducer wall panel in the garage for the customer to turn off the water if they ever needed to. What I'm looking at is, what I'm looking for is make sure that these tags say lead free. And they both do, and I know that I can see connections for PEX piping. So we're still in the PEX piping. So, all right. Also, if they have a ladder going up to the attic, it's not going to hurt to go up there and look to see if there's anything up there. Make sure the piping don't interconnect, conduit, or any type of condensation lines. I just want to look up there and just make sure that nothing's connected to the water, potable water. All right, as I was speaking, you just want to look at the water lines just to make sure that they're not connected by a ball valve or anything to condensation lines, anything that's insulated. Just want to make sure, and you'll also get a good idea of, we already know that it's PEX piping, but I want to make sure.
Okay, the next several slides I want to show you in the presentation are the different types of backflow prevention assemblies and or devices, and a little bit about their application. This particular slide here are pictures of the typical reduced pressure zone assembly. These assemblies are utilized in health hazard applications where you have both back pressure and back siphonage. It's the highest rated backflow testable assembly that you can install. Also note, all backflow prevention assemblies shall be tested upon installation. Assemblies installed to protect against health hazards are required to be tested at least on an annual basis. The next slide are pictures of the double check valve assembly. This particular backflow assembly also protects against both back pressure and back siphonage, but only under non-health circumstances. Again, this backflow assembly is required to be tested upon installation. These are the types of assemblies you're going to see on landscape irrigation systems. These two backflow prevention assemblies are unique in the fact that these can also be utilized against backflow protection under non-back pressure applications. It only will support back siphonage, prevents back siphonage. These can also be used in a health hazard application. They do have some specific installation criteria on these assemblies. Just like the double checks and the RPZs, these two assemblies would also have to be tested upon installation. And keep in mind, it's the degree of hazard that drives the frequency of testing. This slide now depicts the non-testable, which we refer to devices. These are approved backflow prevention devices. As you can see, you cannot test these, but they do have installation criteria, and they also have a wide range of installation utilization to protect against cross-connection and backflow. Again, we have another slide. This is the hose bib vacuum breaker. This particular unit here will probably stop a majority of cross connections that are occurring daily. The ordinary garden hose is still the most common found hazard when doing cross connection inspections. This little unit right here, lead free, that's installed, as you can see, it's installed on an outdoor water spigot. It could be installed on a mop sink or slop sink or any application where a garden hose is being extended from a pot. Now I want to talk a bit about air gaps. Air gaps certainly have their proper utilization if it's being installed correctly and it's being properly maintained. One of the caveats to the air gap is if you're going to allow an air gap to be installed, it is vital that the public water purveyor make sure that they're checking air gap installations more frequently to make sure that the air gap has not been circumvented, that somebody has altered the necessary requirement for that. And as you can see on the left-hand side there, they're properly installed. The air gap must be twice the diameter of the incoming supply line, at no time less than 1 inch. So now here's a picture depicting, which is pretty common. This is a violation of the air gap principle, and you can clearly see this is a post-consumer product that has been purchased to be added to the end of the bathtub fill valve. And as you can see now, that handheld shower hose is cleared at the bottom of the overflow and is now subject to potential sewage, which is considered a lethal hazard at this point. And another typical situation you might encounter while conducting your customer service inspection, swimming pool, whether it be residential, commercial. Automatic pool fill valves do pose a significant hazard. Obviously, swimming pool water is not something you want to drink, and it does have a hazard that needs to be addressed. One additional item that we are seeing more and more of are the under-counter installation for water softener units, RO units. This slide kind of gives you an idea of how those systems are being utilized. In this case, we want to make sure that the property owners are following proper maintenance and filter changeouts, and also proper air gap protection when it comes to the discharge of that equipment back to the sanitary sewer. This particular slide is of concern as well. Again, this talks about post-consumer products. We are continuing to see a large applications across the state of individuals that are purchasing these post add-on products for their water closets and their residential structures, commercial properties. And as you can clearly see, there's lots of variations. One item to note here is how they're connecting the water source and how that could potentially come into contact with fecal material and the sanitary sewer. Now you've seen what a customer service inspection looks like in the field. And thank you to James Rogers for walking us through that process. As you can see, there's a lot of things involved when conducting even something as simple as a residential property. It just wants you to understand that the more complex the property is, the more time it's going to take to conduct the inspection and do a thorough inspection. So just keep that in mind. The more complex the property, the longer time it's going to take. What I also want to talk to you about is making sure now that the inspection is completed, you're either going to have a compliant inspection or non-compliant inspection. What's important about this is that you've properly documented any and all the non-compliant items that you observed to make sure that the local water purveyor, the water supplier, has received the information so that they have the information available to them to make the most informed decision on whether or not to provide continuous water service to that location. Critical. That CSI inspection report form must be turned into that water purveyor upon completion of that inspection. A copy left with the resident, the original goes to the water purveyor, and a copy needs to be retained by the inspector. So, now that we've kind of gone through that process with you, as you can see, lots of things are involved, a lot of tools and equipment, and a lot of experience is going to be needed. Once you have completed a customer service inspection course and you have gotten your license from TCCube and issued a license, you're ready to go, just want to remind you that if you don't know something, seek help. Seek help. I can't stress that enough. Don't get in over your head. You're going to run in, especially on commercial properties and larger properties. It's okay to ask for help. Matter of fact, you're never going to conduct the CSI inspection without at least calling ahead of time to schedule it, and also making sure, try to identify someone that's knowledgeable about the internal water conveyance system is there to go with you. Ask to see plans that help detail and provide a layout of the water conveyance systems, and know that you're going to be looking at multiple types of water systems. You're going to have auxiliary water systems. You can have up to 5, 6 internal conveyance systems in larger complexes, hospitals and industry, those types of facilities. Auxiliary water systems, reclaimed water systems, you're going to have gray water discharge systems. There's lots of different types of water conveyance. What's important is you being able to identify and understand what each of those systems are. What I always tell my students in class is always ask the question, is there a potable water makeup? If so, where does it begin? Especially when it goes to equipment. A lot of post-consumer products that are being bought today that don't take into account adequate backflow protection. It's too numerous to explain all the different types of things, but what you have to keep in mind is where's the potable water makeup to that going, and then evaluate what kind of backflow condition, what is your health hazard, is it a health or non-health, and then what is the appropriate level of backflow protection is needed to protect against that cross connection. So with that, I want to continue all of you to move forward with your personal goals and objectives for your learning and obtaining of your licensing to do this. Hopefully this video has been beneficial for you today to give you a better understanding of what's involved with conducting a customer service inspection. It's not an easy process, and it does take time and attention and your due diligence to make sure a thorough inspection is being completed. Remember, at the end of the day, it's all about providing safe water and protecting public health and safety. With that, I want to thank you for watching our video, and feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Again, my name is Byron Hardin. Thank you for watching.